Move over, Joda, our new Legendaries Matter commander has arrived. That's Djeru and Hazoret, a Boros Legendaries Matter commander. This Boros commander is a human god, and as long as you have one or fewer cards in your hand, it has vigilance and haste. But that's not the spicy part. The spicy part is whenever it attacks, you look at the top 6 cards of your library, you pull a legendary creature out of them, then you may play that card for free without paying its mana cost from exile. So let's get into it. To start off this ramp train, we're going to throw an Arcane Signet, the classic 2-mana rock. Following that up, we got to have Boros Signet. We need to be able to tap for both of our colors out of 1 mana rock. Let's keep our efficiency going with Liquid Metal Torque. We can make things artifacts if we really need to, but it's just a 2-mana rock. Mind Stone can be tapped for a colorless, or we can sacrifice to draw a card in a pinch. Our best mana rock has to be Relic of Legends. You can tap it to add 1 mana of any color, but we can also tap untap legendary creatures to add mana of any color. This is super explosive and works perfect in our Legends Matter deck. Let's keep the degeneracy going with Smothering Tithe. Every time they draw a card, we're going to get a treasure because they're never going to pay the 2. I guarantee it. Of course there's a Soul Ring. We want to win. Talisman of Conviction's an untapped 2-mana rock that can tap for either of our colors, but it deals 1 damage to us, and that's totally worth it. Now it's time to get into our removal spells. Abrade is quite flexible. It's artifact removal and creature removal on 1 instant. We may love all of our legendary creatures and want to keep them in play, but sometimes we have to blow up the board. So we have Blasphemous Axe. It's going to deal 13 damage to each creature. For pinpoint removal, we need to run Chaos Warp. They're going to have to shuffle that permanent into their library and then reveal the card off the top. They might get something awesome, but they'll probably get nothing. Farewell's another mass removal spell, but it's going to exile. It can exile artifacts, creatures, enchantments, and graveyards. The ultimate blowout effect. Generous Gift is going to destroy any permanent, including lands, and all they're going to get is a 3/3 green elephant. Lauren of the Third Path is a legendary, but it is a removal spell. When it ETBs, you can destroy an artifact or an enchantment, or you can make yourself and another player draw a card. We've also got Path to Exile in here. For 1 mana, you get to exile a creature. They may get a basic land, but that doesn't really matter. Speaking of 1 mana removal, we've got Swords of the Plowshares as well. It also exiles a creature for 1 white, and they only gain life. I think it's way better than Path, but I have both in here. Our final removal spell is Wear Tear. Wear destroys a target artifact, Tear destroys an enchantment, but you can cast them both with the fuse cost. Now that we're done destroying our opponent's stuff, let's get into some card advantage. Let's draw some cards. First up, there's Archivist of Ogma. Whenever an opponent searches their library, we get to gain a life and draw a card, and you know somebody's playing green or somebody's playing fetch land, so we're going to be drawing a lot of cards. Esper Sentinel's a 1 mana artifact creature, and whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, you get to draw a card unless that player pays X, where X is Esper Sentinel's power, and you know they're never going to pay. Jessica's Will is some quite explosive card draw. It's going to let us exile the top 3 cards of our library or add a ton of red to our mana pool. If we have our commander out, we get both and can win that turn probably. Lelia, the Blade Reforged, is going to let us exile the top card of our library and play it when it attacks, so that's some extra cards right there. Mangara the Diplomat's another legend that's going to help us draw cards. If we get attacked by too many creatures or opponent plays too many spells, we get cards. Queen Kayla Ben Krug can wheel, and with those cards we wheel away, we can get some of them back into play. Reforge the Soul's another wheel effect, but it does have a miracle cost, so we can deploy it cheap if we draw it off the top. Search for Glory is just a tutor for legendaries, so we can get that card right into our hand. Sun Titan might not be a legendary card, but man, his abilities smack. We can keep getting things back from our graveyard. On ETB, Thalia's Lancers will let us tutor any legendary card out of our deck and put it straight into our hand. Urabrask Heretic Praetor is going to let us exile a card during our upkeep for an additional card advantage, and it also slows down our opponent with his stacks effect. Wheel of Misfortune's another Wheel of Fortune effect, but you get to pick numbers, and we're always going to pick the right number because we're in control. I didn't know where these cards went, so I made a new category, Pump and Protect. Day of Destiny is a legendary enchantment. It's going to give all of our legendary creatures +2/+2, so we can get them for lethal just a little bit quicker. We're also playing Helm of the Host. It's going to let us keep making token copies of a legendary creature, but we've got one in the deck that combos quite well with it. Hero's Podium is a coat of arms just for our legendary creatures, and it can let us look through our deck to pull out more legendaries. Then we've got to have Teferi's Protection. It's just going to be a get out of jail free card, save ourselves, don't lose the game that turn. Everything answer. This card's great. Play it in any white deck you have. Now it's the part everybody's been waiting for. Which legendary creatures did I pick for this deck? I'll tell you, it's an eclectic mix. We've got AO the Dawn Sky. It's a 5/4 flying beater, and also when it dies, we can pull permanents out of our deck or make our field bigger. Atsushi the Blazing Sky is a flying trampling dragon, but also gives us card advantage when it dies or lets us make some treasure tokens. Aurelia, Exemplar of Justice, will buff our creatures during combat and right before combat to get in for lethal. Aurelia, the war leader, is going to give us extra combats when it attacks. That way we can knock out 2 players in the same turn, hopefully. Avacyn, Angel of Hope, is the ultimate legendary angel. It's going to make all of our permanents indestructible. Brimaz, King of Oreskos, is going to give us a bunch of little kitty warriors. Whether it attacks or blocks, we're getting a cat. Bruna, the Fading Light's an angel beater that when it ETBs, we're going to get to return an angel or a human card from our graveyard to the battlefield, and it does have that special meld ability we'll get into later. Kadric, Soul Kindler, is going to let us make token hasty versions of any legendary that we have that ETBs, a little extra value. Elish Norn, Grand Cenobite, is an all-star. It's going to destroy our opponent's board and make our creatures huge. I love that. Felden of the Third Path is going to restore any of our legendaries that are in the graveyard into a token version that has haste that we have to sacrifice, but we can keep doing it. Gisela, Blade of Gold Knight, is going to half the damage dealt to us and double the damage dealt to our opponents. Gisela, the Broken Blade, is a keyword angel that melds with the Bruno we mentioned earlier. It melds into something totally awesome. Let me show you. Brazella, Voice of Nightmares, is a 9/10 legendary Eldrazi angel with flying, first strike, vigilance, and lifelink, and your opponents can't cast spells with converted mana cost 3 or less. I told you we had a combo with Helm of the Host. That's Godo Bandit Warlord, and then when it ETBs, we can search out Helm of the Host, and it's going to keep giving us infinite combats. Hoffrey Ghostforge is going to give all of our legends second lives when they get destroyed as Hasty Spirits. Ilharg, the Raised Boar, is a boar god that's going to let us cheat creatures into play when it attacks, and it keeps coming back for more when it gets destroyed. Erois, God of Victory, is going to give all of our creatures menace to help them get in, and is going to prevent all damage to be dealt to our attacking creatures so they don't get destroyed. Jazal Goldmane is going to pump our attacking creatures so we can get in for lethal one-shot kills. The extra combat train continues with Karlach, Fury of Avernus. It just gives us an extra combat phase after our first combat phase. Morog, Fury of Acume, has the best landfall ability. Whenever a land ETBs, we get an additional combat. Let's make sure we do it in our second main phase to take care of those sequency issues. Myrelle, Shield of Argive, won't let opponents do anything during our turn, and when she attacks, we're going to get a ton of soldier tokens. Neheb, Dreadhorde Champion, is going to let us wheel away the cards we don't need in our hand and make a ton of red mana in the process. Explosivity. Some of our creatures have a lot of keywords. That's where Audric comes in. He's going to give all those keywords to everybody we got. Othari, Sun's Glory, is a phoenix that's going to keep giving us little rebel tokens that can bring it back from the graveyard. Ragavan, Nimble Pilferer, has to go in this deck. It's a 1-mana legendary creature with nothing but upside. Tajik, Legion's End, is a hasty beater that can pump our creatures and also prevent all non-combat damage to our creatures. Teshar, Ancestor's Apostle, is going to keep bringing back creatures from our graveyard every time we cast a historic spell. Thalia, Heretic Cathar, is going to really slow down our opponents by making their non-basic lands and creatures ATB tapped. Urabras, the Hidden, is going to give all of our creatures haste to get in there quick and slow our opponents down by making their creatures come into play tapped. Yoshimaru, the Ever Faithful, is the best boy ever because every time a legendary permanent ETBs, he gets +1/+1 counters. He's going to get huge and beat face. Now that we got all the awesome legendaries out of the way, let's get into the ways to cast them. We've got some lands. Alpine Meadow is a snow duel with basic land type, so that means we can fetch it right out of the deck. Arid Mesa is a fetch land that can fetch mountains or plains right out of the deck. Battlefield Forge is our Boros Pain land. Clifftop Retreat is another dual land that has a chance of coming into play untapped. Fury Calm Snarl is another land that can come into play untapped and taps for a white or a red. Of course, we're going to run a Pathway. It can come in as a red land or a white land, whichever one we need. Rugged Prairie can filter mana to get us the exact color combination we need. Sacred Foundry is the original Boros Shock land. We need to put this in our deck for our Boros Legends. And then we're going to have to run quite a few snow-covered mountains. So that means we got to run quite a few snow-covered plains as well to go with those snow-covered mountains. Spectator Seating is just another untapped dual land that can tap for a red or a white. Sunbaked Canyon is another pain land, but we can sacrifice it to draw a card if we need to. And our final land is Sundown Pass. It can enter the battlefield untapped and it taps for a white or a red. Now you're ready to show the world that Boros is the best color combination. Anyways, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Take care. Bye-bye.